All right. We're all in our places with bright, shiny faces. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to our October meeting of the Task Force for Achieving Academic Equity and Excellence for Black Boys. You're reminded to please mute your mics unless you are speaking so that we have minimal feedback. We have been busy. Our work started at 9 o'clock. We welcome our public who is now able to view us and able to view our special guest speaker as well. As a protocol for our website, and I'm sorry, for our virtual meetings, first of all, we ask that you all turn on your video so we can see you. And also keep in mind that if you have a message, that our chat box is visible to our public, just keeping that in mind. We are graced today with the presence of a gentleman that I have long admired, Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. Just giving you some background, and this is mainly for the public who may not have his bio as the rest of our task force does. Dr. Kunjufu was educated at Morgan State. Okay, I don't know, we have some Morgan State in the house. Don't we have some Morgan State? All right, okay, we got some Morgan State alumni in the house. Illinois State and Union Graduate School. He's been a guest speaker at most universities around the U.S. He's also authored 40 books. So I've got some more. I think I have about a third of them, Dr. Kunjufu, so I'll have to find out what I don't have yet. His work has been featured in Ebony and Essence magazines, and he's been a guest on BET, MSNBC, and also on Oprah. And his work is used in online courses nationwide. Dr. Kunjufu says that his greatest accomplishment is that he is a husband, father, and grandfather. He's also a vegetarian. All right. I aspire to be that, Dr. Kunjufu, one day. And an avid tennis player. And he's not missed a day's work in 42 years. Truly admirable, Dr. Kunjufu. So he asked that you hold your questions until the end. And I know that you do have questions, task force members, because we have read his book in advance. Please indicate in the chat if you wish to ask Dr. Kunjufu a question at the end of his presentation. All you have to do is just put question, and then I will call on you so you can ask your question to Dr. Kunjufu. I won't be able to see you because Dr. Kunjufu is going to be showing some slides. And once he shares his screen, we won't be able to see each other unless you scroll over to another screen. And I'm sure you know how that works. All right, without further ado, Dr. Kunjufu, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Green. And good morning, everyone. I'm very disappointed that I can't touch you because I've been doing this since 1974 and I've always been a hands-on person. I want to be there. I want to feel you. I want to touch you. It's part of my learning style, part of my pedagogy. And so this sharing, virtual sharing, I'm getting adjusted to it, but I can't wait to be able to be in Maryland and in your particular city to work with you directly. I'm going to go to my screen now. My late mentor was Dr. Barbara Sizemore. And when I started my career in 1974, she gave me this theoretical paradigm that I'm still using 46 years later. What exactly is the problem? What caused it? What are the solutions? And last but not least, implementation. Now, I love Dr. Green dearly, and I thought she was my friend, but I'm having to condense a 3-day workshop into 45 minutes plus a Q&A. So I've been praying about this with regards to how do you do this in 45 minutes. So I'm going to emphasize more of the solutions than the problems and causes. But I can't wait to be physically in your state so I can get my 3 days back and work with your staff in more detail. As it relates to the problems, if you can just look at this particular screen, these are just some of the problems that Black and Hispanic males are experiencing. If we had more time, I would look at them and speak about each one of them. But at this point, I just want you to look at the screen and think about some of the problems that you see and what comes to your mind and what do you think causes it and what are the solutions to these problems. I'm sure this is the driving force for the Maryland Task Force with regards to some of these problems. Later on, we'll look at this first one. Only 12% of 8th grade African American males are proficient in reading. In the richest country in the world, this is a disgrace. Illiteracy is the precursor for incarceration. If we teach Black boys how to read, we have a 90% chance of keeping them out of prison. Most of you have my bestseller, Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. When I wrote this book, we were primarily looking at 3 grades, kindergarten, 4th grade, and 9th grade. This is a homework assignment. How can you explain a Black boy scoring at the 98th percentile on the Maryland state exam in reading, and this same boy 5 years later dropping to the 35th percentile, from 92 to 24, from 63 to 4? Give me 5 reasons to explain the 4th grade syndrome. And I never imagined that governors were going to pimp my research like this and use 4th grade reading scores as a precursor for prison growth and prison expansion. That was not the objective. The objective was to create a 4th grade intervention team to stop this tremendous decline. Is your school in gender compliance? What percent of your students are African American male? Let's say, for example, that we're in Baltimore and 90% of the students, let's say, are African American, so 45% would be African American male. So we're looking for that same percent for special ed, for retention, for remedial reading, for suspension, for the dropout rate, for male teachers, for gifted and talented, and AP. So another homework assignment, what percent of your students are African American male? Percentage the same for special ed, retention, remedial reading and math, suspension, the dropout rate, male teachers, gifted and talented, and AP. I think you know the answers are we are not in compliance. Now, my mentor, Dr. Sizemore, told me, never give a group your solutions until you ascertain from the group what they felt caused the problem. For example, when I work with school districts nationwide, they bring me in because their white and Asian students are scoring approximately at the 75 percentile. And their African American and Latino students are scoring around the 35 percentile. So my question to them before I give my solutions, what do they feel was the major reason for the racial academic achievement gap? And the majority of staff members, not in Maryland, but in Pennsylvania, in New York, in Massachusetts, and other parts of the country, they give the column to my left. It's race, it's the income of the parents, the number of parents, the educational background of the parent, parental involvement, and funding. Now notice these causes, they have no control over. They can't change the race, the income, the number of parents, the educational background, their involvement, or state or national funding. And that's very convenient for people who want to blame external factors. Now, because we have a very distinguished group of panelists here, I'm sure you believe that the causes are more to the right. School culture, principal quality, teacher quality, teacher expectation, classroom management, pedagogy, curriculum, time on task, values, special education, suspension, tracking, summer, test usage, gender differences, bonding, and teacher demographics. And I regret that I'm rushing through this because each of these gaps or causes is an hour presentation in and of itself, but I'm rushing to get to the solutions. I mentioned earlier there are 3 critical grades: kindergarten, 4th grade, and 9th grade. If you want to see God at his best, look at our boys in kindergarten. This problem is not genetic. Our boys are at their best in kindergarten. They sit in the front of the class, they're eager, they're curious, they're on task, they love learning. If you want to see Satan at his best, look at our boys in 9th grade. Black boys in Maryland are not dropping out in the 11th or 12th grade, they're dropping out in 9th grade. And I believe the grade in the middle is the most important, and that's 4th grade. We could spend a whole day on kindergarten, 4th grade, and 9th grade. The second one, schools without black males. There are buildings where I go into, and there's not one black male in the building. And if a black male was in the building, I'm going to wager he's a custodian first, a security guard second, a PE teacher third, an administrator fourth, a high school teacher fifth, junior high sixth, and you can count in Maryland the number of primary grade teachers that are African American male. Is the future of black male students in the hands of white female teachers? I used to spend, before the pandemic, almost 3 days a week primarily working with white female teachers. Since 1954, Brown versus Topeka, there's been a 66% decline in African American teachers. Now, these are just some of the issues that are affecting African American males, and we'll go through them very fast. The male ego, wish I could stay there longer. Class clown, showdown, the dozens, code switching, relational learner, or oral learner, tactile learner, kinesthetic learner, schools and classroom masculinity and decor, loss of childhood innocence, school esteem versus self-esteem, being smart is attributed with being white and feminine, cool pose, energy level, aggressive or assertive, impact of hip hop culture, homework and classroom participation, organization and timing, and Detroit Red. Can I have a female beside Dr. Simpson and Dr. Green? Can you tell me who was Detroit Red?
Malcolm X.
Malcolm X. I could have a whole workshop on the development between Malcolm Little, a brilliant 8th grade honor roll student who was destroyed by an 8th grade teacher, Mr. Swasti, whose words converted a Malcolm Little, an honor roll student, to Detroit Red. It was in prison where he was finally taught Afrocentricity. let me park there a moment.